Welcome back. It's time for Owen, and of course, Owen's back. Hello again, Owen. Starting with the Asian markets, it seems that they're taking that default downgrade of Greece in their stride.
Yeah, many of the Asian markets actually swinging back into the green, Claire. The Nikkei has not long closed its days trading around 0.5% up at the end of play. And as you can see there, the Hang Seng and even the Shanghai Composite back in the green. There's been a big bankruptcy in Japan this Tuesday. In fact, the biggest ever in Japan's corporate history. We'll give you the details on that in just a moment. But there's the picture for now on the Asian markets.
So if the markets are doing okay, then how worried should we really be then about this decision by Standard & Poor's?
Well, it's a fair question because I'm sure 6 months ago or even less than that, we'd have been very worried about the idea of Standard & Poor's suddenly saying this country is in what it calls selective default. But that's the key to all of this. It's not quite an out-and-out default. In fact, on the sliding scale of things, when you see these countries dropping down the rankings, default is, of course, pretty much the last rung on that ladder. Selective default, well, it sort of means that the government can pay some debts and not others, which is essentially why it's in selective default, and partly because, as well, Greece is undergoing a bond swap as we speak as part of that €130 billion bailout. The idea there is that anybody that's invested in this country over the last 10 years or 20 years or whatever, they will get new bonds at a lower rate of interest in return for cashing in their old ones. So they'll get these new bonds, a lower rate of interest, which will help the Greek government basically, or the idea is recover over the next 10 years or so. Now, the Greek government doesn't seem too worried about this. The Ministry of Finance says, well, as soon as this bond swap is over, they think that Standard & Poor's will begin upgrading Greece once again as part of this new bailout. The only real answer to this, though, Claire, is that we'll only know how successful this bond swap has been and whether Greece really has defaulted when around €14 billion of debt matures towards the end of March. That will be the moment that we'll know how many of these bondholders were on board and if it was just a tiny minority that held out.
So we're going to have to wait about 4 weeks to find out. Next, work in Greece or take a hike. That's the choice facing staff at a struggling French charter airline. It's relocating to Greece to take advantage of cheaper labour and leaving employees with a difficult choice.
Hoping to reduce costs by transferring some operations to Greece. The French airline charter company Air Méditerranée has sent layoff notices with a difficult choice to a number of employees. They can either work for a Greek subsidiary for much less money or be let go. If they stay on, these stewards will still work in France, but would be paid just €900 a month, 30% less than their current salary.
It's impossible. We all have apartments, families. We've made a life here in Lyon.
We're not happy. We don't want to lose our jobs, and we're not willing to work on a Greek contract for €900. It's unacceptable.
After losing money for the last 2 years, Air Méditerranée has decided to let 85 of its 360 workers go, slowly replacing them with Greek employees. The CEO says the cuts are necessary to compete with low-cost airlines in Eastern Europe.
The employees of those companies are legally paid 3 to 4 times less than French employees, and those people operate flights for French travellers and French travel companies. We at Air Méditerranée need to fight against that.
Employees plan to protest Wednesday in front of the company's French headquarters to show their anger.
Let's get a few more of the day's business headlines for you, starting with the head of the World Bank, who's told Chinese leaders that their growth model is unsustainable for the future. Robert Zelik was in Beijing to deliver a new report on the country's prospects up to 2030. The report says that even if China's economy is reformed to allow more consumption, growth will drop from nearly 10% currently to less than 6% by 2021.
Elpida has gone bankrupt in the biggest ever bankruptcy of a Japanese manufacturer. The computer chip maker collapsed with more than $5 billion in debt after failing to find a buyer. The firm had suffered from Korean competitors and declining demand as computer users switch to tablets that use flash memory rather than chips.
And GM is poised to take a 5% stake in Peugeot. That's according to Reuters sources. The US car maker is discussing a symbolic purchase of part of its French rival to cement a new partnership for building key components together. It's thought the stake would be worth around €180 million based on Peugeot's current market capitalisation.
Now, Nokia's decline has been almost as staggering as its rival Apple's rise. The Finnish mobile phone maker's market share has been obliterated by the iPhone, but over the last 12 months, it's been staging a fight back by putting Windows software into its handsets, and it's creating a buzz at the Mobile World Congress with a new phone that's so cheap it's almost a giveaway. Olivia Salazar-Winspear explains.
A 41-megapixel camera and the kind of zoom functionality normally reserved for professional photographers. The new Nokia PureView mobile phone was the star product at this year's World Mobile Congress in Barcelona. It was shown alongside their affordable smartphone, featuring books, magazines, rolling news. The Lumia could be mistaken for an e-reader. Selling cheap phones in large quantities to emerging markets is the new strategy for the Finnish company.
Nokia has a long and successful history in China, and now thanks to the collaboration between Nokia, Microsoft, and our partners like Qualcomm, we are in a position to introduce a range of Lumia phones in China.
Nokia's in a make-or-break situation. It was once the go-to model of the mobile world, a reliable brand at the top of its game. But it's lost two-thirds of its share price in the last 3 years, plummeting from over €12 in 2009 to €4 last year, when the company posted a net loss of €1.2 billion. A downward curve that's practically the opposite of the steep upward swing enjoyed by other smartphone manufacturers like Apple. Analysts who were waiting for dramatic news this year from Nokia say they weren't particularly impressed with the company's presentation in Barcelona. Yet Nokia CEO Stephen Elop said that their new, more affordable smartphone would open the brand up to millions of new users outside of their regular market, as Nokia looks beyond China to India, Nigeria and Indonesia, and a new generation of mobile users.
And before we go, Owen, it seems greed is no longer good. Gordon Gekko himself changing his tune.
Not in the current climate, Claire, with Wall Street protests and so on. Absolutely. Who else would you want to front a campaign to tell people that greed is no longer good than the movie icon himself from the movie Wall Street? It's Michael Douglas, the actor, has been recruited by federal authorities for a new campaign. Let's take a look at it. It's very entertaining.
Ladies and gentlemen, greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right.
Hello, I'm Michael Douglas. In the movie Wall Street, I played Gordon Gekko, a greedy corporate executive who cheated to profit while innocent investors lost their savings. The movie was fiction, but the problem is real. Our economy is increasingly dependent on the success and integrity of the financial markets. If a deal looks too good to be true, it probably is. For more information on how you can help identify securities fraud or to report insider trading, contact your local FBI office or submit a tip online at www.fbi.gov.
Gordon Gekko.
Gordon Gekko. I think maybe Bernard Madoff for the next one. What about that from his jail cell? I mean, he must have time on his hands.
Let's see if the federal authorities can pull that one off. All right, thank you very much, Owen, for that look at business. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to France 24.